Hi, my name is Jay and welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 in my 40th anniversary series of making a set of 10 custom dolls of Jem and the Holograms. In this video we'll be getting into the Misfits. I also just want to start off by acknowledging that the part 1 video had a lot of technical issues, we'll say, that led to the video quality being highly reduced, and unfortunately, because of the deadline, I did not have time to correct it. So the best I can do is that hopefully this video, fingers crossed, knock on wood, will not run into the same issues as I've had a lot more time to work on the video editing side of things for this part 2. So let's start off with the intro. I'm just going to be reusing the intro from the last video in case you missed it or wanted to catch up again. And if you don't want to rewatch that, you can skip to this timestamp to start off with redesigning. So let's start at the beginning. In the summer of 2023, I stumbled upon a video clip for Universal Appeal by the Misfits of Jem and the Holograms. Now, Jem and the Holograms was something that I had only heard of vaguely before. I knew it was an 80s thing and I thought it was like a sci-fi movie or something of that kind. But I really liked the song in the clip, so shortly afterwards I listened to more of the music and watched all of the show because it was a TV show and not a movie like I was thinking, and I really fell in love with it. And only after diving further into it and watching the series and all of that did I know it was a doll thing. Somehow, in all of my years of collecting, I just never stumbled across it in relation to that sphere before. So for those unfamiliar, Jem and the Holograms is a cartoon that was released October 6th, 1985, that features the titular Jem and her band Jem and the Holograms in a show that can truly only be described as outrageous! While I don't want to give too much away, the premise of the show is basically that Jem and the Holograms get into various adventures with their rivals, the Misfits, and it is the most 80s show that I've ever seen. It is very much 80s pop culture distilled into a dangerously high concentration. I would definitely recommend watching this show if you were a fan of camp. It's not good, but it is very fun to watch. There are a couple of episodes that are like randomly really good. But moving on to my discovery of it being a doll line, Jem and the Holograms, at the time of me watching it, had seen 2 waves of doll releases, one during the original run of the show in the 80s from Hasbro, and one later on in 2012 from Integrity Toys. By March 12th, 2024, I found myself lamenting that I didn't really like either of these doll lines, despite being a huge fan of the show itself. And I was very disappointed by that, being someone who collects dolls and designs for them frequently. I found myself wanting there to be something more, something that I could have as a physical bit of memorabilia from the show. So I decided to undergo the process of making customs. I'd never done this before and I wanted to try something new, and I figured it would be a good start. I had always had an idea of wanting to make my own dolls eventually, but I always wanted to jump in and go straight to, I have to figure out how to model and 3D print them myself and do everything completely from scratch. So having this as a jumping off point, I figured would be a good in-between. So I got the idea that morning, and the same day I began planning with a spreadsheet, figuring out what bases I wanted to use to do my customs, what the different hair colors and textures I wanted to be were, because I'd already had some semblance of designs going around, because originally I had planned to do an illustration piece for each of the characters and do a redesign video that is similar in vein to my Monster High series, but once I had that idea I really wanted to go with it and try something new and exciting and different. So once I had all the different bases picked out and a list of everything that I wanted to do for my designs, I purchased all of the dolls, started a spreadsheet to keep track of all my finances around how much I was spending on this project, and it began to learn. I had never done any sort of repainting or rerouting. I've obviously sewn before, but I've never sewn like whole outfits from scratch for my dolls. And to just be a little bit extra, I wanted to do something even more. So I had my partner 3D print a bunch of little instruments for me. Most of them I bought or used the files from online, which I will say this now and probably reiterate several times throughout this video. Every resource that I purchased, how much everything cost, and all of that will be put in a big Google Doc full of links in the description below. But back to the topic at hand. Originally, this video was going to be a vlog style video, the same way as my Mertale video, where I document each step of the project in excruciating detail. But I had a really bad experience filming the tale for that video. I feel like everything just kept going wrong, and it was really exhausting for me to be in front of the camera, even if I wasn't doing anything differently. So this is how the video is going to go instead. I'm going to go through each design, and then you will see the reveal, and then once I have the doll in front, I will talk a little bit about each of the pieces. So let's get into that process and start. First things first, I want to talk a little bit about how I wanted the Misfits to cohere as a group. Given that Jem and the Holograms largely stuck to softer shapes and the range of colors in between blue and pink. I wanted the Misfits to have the exact opposite energy, where I wanted them all to have very sharp shapes, very angular designs, and a very clashy color palette, consisting of red, orange, green, and blue. I also wanted all of the designs to incorporate a single legging of zebra/tiger striping to tie them all together as a group. I also wanted all of their aesthetics to reflect different niches of new wave. So starting off with Pizzazz here, I wanted her to be very much new wave rock star queen. So I definitely wanted to incorporate a lot of leather into her outfit, as well as I really love her outfit in Designing Woman, especially with the high boots, the short skirt, and the long jacket. I feel like it's a very 80s silhouette and one that still looks really cool to me today. And I feel like of the Misfits, Pizzazz definitely has my favorite outfits. So I really enjoyed taking inspiration for her. Moving on to her redesign here, I have her in a bikini top with 2 layers of jackets, a short skirt, that striped legging that I talked about, and a couple things of note from this original design that ended up changing during the process were originally I wanted to make her a pair of fabric boots, but when I got the lot of dolls, one of them already had knee-high black boots, and so I took the repainting option instead, since that would save me some time, and the sculpt had a lot more details than I would be able to achieve making it out of fabric that I liked. I also here have her in some thinner cat's eye glasses, but I did change that and buy her some clear cat's eye glasses that had a much wider lens, as that is much more period accurate than the sort of tiny bitchy sunglasses that are back on vogue from the Y2K trend nowadays. So let's get to Pizzazz's reveal.
How does it feel to be popular, knowing all the fans adore you? How does it feel? How does it feel to be popular, knowing the press won't ignore you? How does it feel to be worshipped from afar? It feels dynamite, it feels like you're a star. How does it feel? How does it feel to be on the charts? How do you like the glamour? How does it feel when the clapping starts? Doesn't your heart start to stammer? How does it feel to be as famous as you are? It feels out of sight, it feels like you're a star. How does it feel?
So let's talk about Pizzazz. Starting off with her hair, I rooted her with this dirty blonde color in homage to her appearance in the early seasons of the cartoon, because I genuinely thought that's what her hair color was supposed to look like, and I kind of grew attached to that. Mixed into her hair blend is some electric lime green, however it really does just blend in and give her a dirty blonde look. I will also say that while rooting her, this shade is an exact match to my own hair color, so I kept being like, is this one of Pizzazz's hair or is this one of mine? I have her hair styled in this long wild bang with some bangs in the front, and I used a curling rod to give it a wavy texture to it. For accessories, I gave her some green cat's eye sunglasses and some neon lime green hoops. Her face-ups is one of my favorites in terms of how it came out. I really love her expression. This is actually a second take at her face-up somewhat, as I unfortunately learned the very hard way when repainting the Misfits that you should not try to put the heads back onto the bodies before MSC has had a long time to cure, because her face paint cracked off in a lot of spots. It happened the worst with Jetta, which I will talk more about later on when I get to her, but Pizzazz's was easily recoverable, which thank God, because I really like how her turns out, and I actually like her face up better the second round of repainting, since I feel like she has a lot more expression than the original version that I did. Her guitar was 3D printed, and then I added this reflective green foil that has a bit of an almost plaid-like undertone to the stripes, in reference to her original guitar. I then painted the neck and little silver details, and added some fishing wire to work as string. I also glued on some attachment points here and here from some 3D print files that were originally meant as light switch blades, and used them to attach the strap and a little buckle to. The strap is also a piece of gold ribbon, which is again in reference to the original line of Misfits dolls. I also gave her a microphone that has the same green foil on the body of it and a chromed out part on the microphone itself. Moving on to Pizzazz's outfit, we'll start with her leather jacket. It is pleather with a real zipper, and then for the little metal stud details, they're actually just some metallic Sharpie drawn onto the collars and cuffs. It is wide around the shoulders and sleeves to create a baggy appearance, but in the back it's actually fairly cropped around her waist. The definitive statement piece of this outfit is definitely her multicolored coat. This was by far the most intense patterning part of the entire project, as all of the different colors are different pieces of fabric that are double-sided and sewn together. I also had to account to make sure everything cut out, fit into the different pieces they were meant to, and also included this jagged tear pattern at the bottom as well. The seams of it are also covered up with blue binding tape. I also wanted to give her this really big, dramatic supervillain collar at the top. And I'll be sure to insert some photos of it without the leather jacket on. Her top is a pretty simple lime green bikini top with blue binding tape to work as the edges and straps. Her belt is also pretty simple, just being a red double-sided piece of fabric that velcros in the back and has a 3D printed and silver chrome painted buckle on the front. Her skirt actually came with the original base Barbie doll. I simply hemmed it and added the orange stitching at the bottom to adhere to my original design and also to make it fit in more with the rest of the outfit. On her right leg, she has a navy blue legging that has lime green puppy paint on it to work as the zebra stripe motif that I wanted all of the Misfits to have in their designs. And on her left leg, she has a lime green sock with a blue cuff. These are repainted Barbie shoes as well that I added some red fabric cuffs to at the top, and then painted a lot of details onto. In terms of the paint job, I added orange laces, silver grommets, a lime green decorative stripe at the sole, and a navy blue heel. I'm really happy with how these turned out. They look exactly like how I had designed them to, but even more detailed, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. And then finally, the last little detail for Pizzazz's outfit is this barbed wire ankle cuff that I made by twisting some wire, and it is actually sharp. So whenever I pick up this doll, I have to be a little bit careful, but I think it looks really cool and helps with their overall image. So there is Pizzazz. Be sure to let me know what you guys think of her down in the comments below. Personally, I'm really happy with how she came out. She looks exactly like I imagined, and overall, each of the Misfits, I feel like their outfits are a lot more visually interesting, even though all of their outfits actually went together, overall, generally speaking, a lot quicker than the Holograms outfits did. I don't know if it was just because I was more experienced or because I was under more of a deadline at this point in time, but overall, I think I also like their outfits a lot more because they're a lot more in my comfort zone of punk and all being my main fashion aesthetic personally, so I like how they look a lot, and I'm really happy that I went the customization route. Another detail I will add is that this doll in particular is heavy. There are so many different like luxe materials and like the hints of real metal that make her very heavy, and it makes her feel very like deluxe.
Now, let's get to Roxy. Starting with her mood board, I feel like a lot of Roxy's outfits in particular are kind of busted. I feel like her outfits are always super clashy, and some of them I really like, and some of them I like, and I feel like the clashing works. I feel like it's integral to her character, and it makes sense that she would not have an eye for fashion per se. So that was definitely something I wanted to keep in mind when designing for Roxanne Pellegrini. For her redesign, I wanted her to have aspects of both new wave and of the 80s metal look, specifically hair metal. So I have a big wild mane of hair with striped red feather streaks blended into her hair. I also wanted to incorporate that split striped camo pair of pants that she wears in one of her outfits in the show, as well as incorporating the black fuzzy top from her main outfit and the baggy geometric shirt from her favorite look of mine. I definitely wanted Roxy to have the toughest look of the Misfits, so I feel like her aesthetic is furthest away from new wave, but her color palette and design conventions definitely put her as being solidly within the group, being that she is someone who seems pretty desperate for Pizzazz's attention a lot of the time. So I definitely imagine her wanting to stick pretty closely to Pizzazz's aesthetic. So let's get to the reveal.
Change my love right now.
And here we have Roxy. Starting with her reroot, I gave her white curly hair because originally I'd actually gotten a white straight texture that I was then going to curl that had a bit of a red undertone, but I thought it looked too similar to Jem, so I pivoted and instead used some of the hair that I was going a different project that maybe you'll guys see some other time. But either way, there turned out to be just enough to reroot her, and I gave her this curly perm that is very big. I wanted to have sort of hair metal vibes to her design, and it has some bangs in the front that are curly and wild. And it is tied together with a fine mesh fishnet. I also have some hot pink reddish streaks that have black stripes on them to look like little hair feathers, and those are actually the hair that she was originally rooted with. I just left some little parts of it in and blended them in with the rerooted hair. I think it looks really cool, and it's fun that you saw this in 2010s and modern revivals of Scene, and the same things existed in 80s culture. Her face-up is a complete repaint, and I gave her brown eyes with a side glance and red lipstick and a mole on the side that accentuates her expression of furrowed brown brows. And she also has very wild red and yellow face paint on either side, with 3 bars on her right side and a lightning bolt-esque mark on her cheek on the other. For her earrings, they are simple pearl studs that I got off of eBay. In terms of other accessories, she has a gold necklace that I made out of chain, a fabric fingerless glove on her right hand, and then underneath her shirt and going down her left arm, she has a red fishnet with a bit of spandex to hold it in place at the neck and wrist. It goes in between her fingers here, and then also around her knuckles is a bit of gold chain that I wanted to mimic the look of almost brass knuckles, and she is sort of the brawn of the Misfits. I also gave her a little rough tie around her arm that is the same camouflage material that is on her pants, both for decorative reasons because it looked like her design was empty a bit before I added that on at the last second, and because this doll actually came with a broken arm right at that elbow joint, so it helps keep things in place, as well as with the fishnet being on that side, it works as a bit of a brace. For her enormous guitar, it is again 3D printed and has the same strap, buckle, and strap holder situation as Pizzazz, and again has the fishing line wires as the string. Her guitar, for some reason, really did not want to print, so there were, at one point in the print file, supposed to be little knobs on the side of the guitar, but they did not print, so I instead just painted them onto the reflective foil. The neck of the guitar is painted in pink, and the body has this glittery purple foil that I then added some pink, almost marbled looking paint to add a bit more intrigue to her guitar, and definitely not to cover up all the super glue stains that this particular foil was really prone to getting. For all of these dolls, I went with just coloring their instruments the same way as they're colored in the show to try to get them show accurate, but for Roxy's, I do wish that I had made her guitar maybe an orange to help better fit in with her palette, as I feel like the purplish pink magenta here just looks pretty out of place. Moving on to her clothes, her overshirt is this button-up with this very dramatic pattern on it that is blue, orange, and red, and fun fact, is actually a photograph of a shirt that I own that I then had custom printed to be scaled down on this silk-like fabric. One sleeve is intact and it has a lime green cuff to match the collar, but the other side is cut off to show off the fishnet on this side. And there are 2 white buttons for closure. Her top is a plain black sleeveless tube top that has a pointed pattern and is asymmetrical to create more angles in her design, being sharp and edgy as a misfit she is. The thing I'm actually happiest about with this top is that I am dead certain that this is the exact same material that Integrity Toys used for their Roxy's top. For her belt, it is a simple tie around her waist that I then added these 3 loops of gold chain to. It's also the same fabric that I used for the red tie around her knee. Her pants have a boot cut to them, since she's wearing boots, and they are bicolored. They actually differ slightly from the design, and that is because I was not looking closely enough at my reference image while patterning, and once I realized I had already pretty much finished them. So oops, it is close enough. And if anything, I like the effect, because given the cut of her shirt, you can actually see where the split happens on the leg now. So the fabric on the right leg is a lime green, that I then painted with orange tiger stripes to again tie in with all of the other Misfits. And her left leg is a camo print. I also then added a bunch of cuts and scratches into these pants to give them some weathering, and then added gold glitter glue around the edges of each of those cut areas to draw attention to them, and also to hold the direction of the fraying in place. And last but not least are these boots. They are plain black Barbie boots that I used hot glue to create all of the little spiky bits on, which I will insert a video clip here so you can see how I did that. I then painted them to have an almost Converse-like style, so they have a cream-colored toe box with the gold spikes on top, a red canvas base, orange shoelaces, again to match Pizzazz, with gold grommets and gold aglets painted on. And the black heels are the original color of the shoe mold. For her base body, I wanted her to be muscular, so I actually used a WWE doll so that she has more definition in her muscles. However, this does mean that her posing is a lot more limited than the other dolls in this series. So that is Roxy. Be sure to let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. I'm fairly happy with how she came out overall, and she came together fairly quickly, taking only 3 weeks, whereas I gave myself a month and usually went overtime with most of the other dolls that I've made for this series.
Moving on to Stormer. Starting off with her mood board. While Stormer is one of my favorite characters and one of most people's favorite characters, personally, I think she has maybe only 3 good outfits in the whole show, which is very unfortunate. So, aside from her having a somewhat vintage aesthetic, I didn't take much inspiration from the show's outfit catalog itself. So for her redesign, I definitely wanted to incorporate those vintage elements still by giving her a tie around her neck, a flower in her hair, and a beauty mark, while also still keeping her pretty firmly in New Wave and very heavily within the color palette of the Misfits group, being that she is someone who often goes along with what others are saying, regardless of how she feels herself. For her distribution of colors, I wanted her to be predominantly the contrasting color scheme of blue and orange, with some hints of red and green throughout her outfit to tie her together. This is probably my favorite design in the entire series, and while I was making the shawl and the shirt, I discovered that those 2 pieces in particular had almost a nautical gothic vibe to them, which I really love. And you'll see here that I wasn't too upset about giving up Pizzazz's fabric boots because Stormer has a pair of definitive fabric boots in her design, so I'd still be able to try that out and get a new skill in this part of the project. Notably also is that her top is a sweetheart neckline, which are 2 curved shapes that do end in a point, but it is the only place that I intentionally used curves instead of angles within the design of the Misfits, as she is a character that is softer, and also, while Roxy also has a moment where she leaves the Misfits, Stormer's is definitely a lot more notable in the long run of the series, and so I wanted to throw that in as just a little reference to her rebellion from the rabble-rousers she calls friends. So, let's get to the reveal.
Sometimes I feel so alone and absent. Sometimes don't know where to turn or who to call my friends. But I'm okay. I'm okay. I have faith in myself. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm gonna make it through today. I'm okay. Sometimes I go through so much in my mind. Sometimes the space that I need is no place I can find. But I'm okay. I'm okay. I have faith in myself. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm gonna make it through the day. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I have faith in myself. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm gonna make it through the day. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Next up, we have Stormer, one of my favorite characters. For her face-up, it is a partial repaint, meaning her lips and eyes are original, but I did add the eye makeup and cheek makeup and the little mole above her lip in lime green, orange, and navy blue. For her hair, I wanted her to have a almost Robert Smith vibe of curly goth, so it is tied up into this big navy blue updo that has a bang covering one of her eyes and 2 tendrils hanging down at the side of her ears to help draw some of that upwards weight on her head down into the rest of her design. I also gave her a orange flower in her hair that is a fabric flower that I then painted some lime green around the edges to. And for her earrings, she has a silver cup that is a repurposed LOL OMG piece, and then in both ears she has these little blue rectangles that I found on eBay. And again, everything that I bought in this project will be linked in the description this time, as now that this part of the project is complete, that document is also complete and I can release it. I also made her a little fabric necktie in reference to how a lot of her fashion is 50s inspired. And the last bit of jewelry she wears are these navy cuffs that have a bit of a rectangular shape to them with a blue strand of beads in the center. Her guitar was 3D printed with white, silver, and black details added. And again, the same light switch plate added at the sides for the strap, with the same situation as Pizzazz's guitar, and it has this gold holographic foil added on top of it to create a rainbow sheen. I really like how her guitar turned out. She has this very big, oversized, and geometric shawl that is white cotton that I then cut into shape, sewed together, and used navy blue fabric paint to add these stripes. I also used the same blue binding tape that I used for Pizzazz's jacket on the edges, which took surprisingly an incredibly long time, and then it is secured with a navy blue button at the top. Getting into her outfit underneath her shawl and guitar, we have a crop top with a sweetheart neckline that points down into a V to continue that shape downwards, that I'm really happy with how the fit turned out, and it again has the same navy blue striping on it. The sleeve is then disconnected from the shirt and is attached at the top with a bit of tight-fitting binding tape that again has the same painted details going around the entirety of it, and it goes down almost to her fingertips with that same binding strip at the bottom. On her other arm, she wears an orange fishnet that the top strap of spandex and continues down to these two straps that attach to her underbodice that goes into a red zebra stripe pattern that continues down her right leg, the same as all the other Misfits. Her shorts are a faux white denim that I then painted lime green and attached unpainted bits of fraying fabric to the bottom to create this torn, ripped jeans look. I also have the Velcro at the front to mimic the look of real shorts that have green stitching along the edges for detail and along the top of the waistband. I also have that blue binding tape to work as faux pockets, some red spandex to work as belt loops, and an orange button to tie these shorts together with the color palette of everything else. And then last but certainly not least of her outfit are these fabric boots that I made. The base are the shoes that she came with that I then painted the heels red on and the soles orange, and then glued this navy pleather to and painted details on. It is 2 pieces of leather each, with 1 piece wrapping around the back and a second piece going from the toe up the center of the shoe, same way as in real shoes. And then I use this light blue color to tie together with the white on her shirt to add 2 stripes to either side. Then I use this orange string to create laces that have this unique cut in the middle of them. So they start at the bottom and then the top row there ends at the knee, and then they start again at the top and go down, and that ends at the knee again, since I figured it made continuous sense since I wanted these boots to have rips in the center where the knees are. I also decided to leave the strings really long as I thought it looked really dramatic, and it tied in with the strings around the edges of her shorts. So there is Stormer. Be sure to let me know what you guys think of her down below in the comments. Personally, she is one of my favorite dolls in this whole line, mainly just because I really love her design. It is incredibly me-core. It definitely looks like a lot of my design hallmarks are in her outfit, and I'm really, really happy with how she came out. I think her boots and guitar especially look incredibly good. I really love how the lacing on her fabric boots turned out, and all of the shapes in her outfit are exactly as I imagined them in my mind, so I'm really happy with Stormer.
And last but certainly not least is Jetta. For her mood board, I pulled only 5 images, as she has a less expansive catalog than the other characters of the show due to her late addition. And also, I will say personally, I feel like between her entire catalog of looks in the show, there is maybe half a good outfit in between all of them if you squint. I did take some inspiration from the black and white color palette of her introduction outfit, and also the fact that I feel like a triangular upper body design is very common for her shoulder area, and I also really liked the contrasting gloves in the third look. But otherwise, I did not really like where I was getting in terms of just looking at the straight up inspiration board that I had put together here of her looks, and I was not feeling inspired and I didn't really know what I wanted to do here. So I instead took to creating a mood board outside of just the show looks. Immediately for New Wave, my mind jumped to Grace Jones for inspiration. So these really angular shapes, the purest of pure New Wave look, and really dramatic silhouettes and makeup I thought was absolutely perfect for Jetta, and I really wanted to create a look for her that would set her apart from the other Misfits instead of making her
just another one of the group. So for her redesign, I definitely wanted to incorporate that really intense lightning bolt eye makeup that she has in the show and intensify it even further to a wraparound design along a mostly shaved head with a small mohawk at the top. I wanted to incorporate that really dramatic shoulder pad triangular shape that she often has in her designs and keep that split black and white look and create a lot of alternating shapes and colors here. I wanted her design to be very high contrast and very simple overall, but even though her outfit is very simple, it also includes some of my favorite pieces in this whole series, and I'm really excited for you guys to see the reveal because I think she turned out literally perfect. So let's go to the reveal. Jetta. Starting off with her reroot / face paint, she has natural textured hair that is in a short and angular little mohawk at the top of her head that is a dark brownish black, and to give her a all-around undercut, I used some paper clay to fill in the rooting holes in her head and then painted over it with black to mimic the look of buzzed hair, and added this metallic silver stripe that goes into her eye makeup. She has that same metallic paint on her lip as lipstick and as eyeshadow as well. I mentioned this earlier, but when I did the Misfits face-ups, I did not give the MSC enough time to set properly before trying to put the heads back on the body, and it resulted in a good portion of Pizzazz's faces cracking off, a little bit of Stormer's face cracking off, Roxy was completely unaffected, but Jetta got it the worst of all. Not necessarily in that where it cracked was unsavable, but it for some reason created these white stress marks around the base of her neck, and I just had to try to color match it the best I could with some dark brown gouache paint and seal it again after it was back on the body. So it's mostly not noticeable, you can see it in some shots of the reveal, but yeah, that was not fun. The lightning bolt shape ties into her lightning bolt earrings, which are repainted G3 Frankie earrings. Her only other accessory is a square black bracelet. Her saxophone was very fun to paint and actually a lot easier than I expected it to be. It has the same gold strap situation that all the other Misfits do to still give her a way to tie in while not using their color palette, and it has a ton of eensy-beensy painted details on both sides to give it a realistic look. For her outfit, let's start out with her gloves. They are entirely pleather that are sewn around each of her fingers with thread details to give the impression of finger holes that aren't actually there because they're molded together and you can't physically do that. They have this cut down the center of them that is then laced up the same way Stormer's boots are with contrasting colored string and a matching colored fringe on either side. The fringe is just attached in the back with some super glue. They also have little hot glue aglets to keep the thread from fraying. I love how these turned out. I love the movement and drama that they add to her outfit, and they turned out exactly how I was imagining. Around her neck is a quite literal bow tie. It is this metallic wire thread that was very bulky, so I originally planned to just tie it around like a normal bow around her neck, but that was way too thick and it was not cooperating. So if you look closely, it is actually sewn together and just sort of twisted into the shape without being actually tied. Her top is very simple in construction but very dramatic in design. It is two contrasting pieces of leather that are attached with a button at the front and then sewn in the back, and each panel is a symmetrical piece that is stitched at the shoulder and then attaches under the arm down the side in a seam there. I really love how her top looks. I love how incredibly dramatic it is, and also that it was very simple to make. Jetta's entire outfit only took 7 days to sew, which is by far the quickest any of these dolls' outfits have come together, but at the same time I feel like hers is maybe the most dramatic and stunning of all of the group. I also will say that I was really afraid that it was looking too simple, and honestly just adding the bow around her neck tied everything together so perfectly and added just enough visual interest to make it look very detailed while still being very simple and striking. Her skirt is that same silk fabric that I used for Roxy's, and again, a custom print. I just fixed up a quick little black and white stripe situation and sent it off to be printed on the same piece of sample fabric that Roxy's shirt was printed on. So I had a very limited amount of fabric, so I definitely made sure to make a mock-up of this skirt beforehand. It's fairly simple in construction, but definitely did give me some problems. It velcros in the back, and it has a flat waistline at the top that then points down to mimic all the other triangular shapes in her design. So it creates a triangle with points here, here, and here. It has a strap of black leather at the waist, and then the edge at the bottom has a piece of white leather that is super glued in place. The last part of fabric on her outfit is a one-leg legging that is black with white zebra stripes painted on. Since Jetta has narrative parallels to Rhea, being a member of one of the main two groups that is added on as a new member later on, I wanted her to very much contrast Rhea's aesthetic decisions. Whereas Rhea desperately wants to fit in and be a part of the hologram, so her color palette matches them very intensely and includes colors from all the different groups, Jetta is not afraid to stand out, so I wanted her to have a very sharp black and white palette, the same way that her original outfit did, but instead serving to set her apart from the group while still maintaining thematic coherence with them in terms of the angles of her design, the materials of leather and spandex and cotton, and still having the one stripy leg that ties her in with the rest of the group. And her instrument matches this theming as well, matching her color palette, but still having the gold band and buckle situation that all of the other Misfits do. The final detail are these silver boots that are plain Barbie shoes that I then just painted the laces onto to match the laces on her gloves, and then covered with a shiny layer of Mod Podge to give it some shine. So there is Jetta completed. Be sure to let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm really happy with how striking her design is. I think she is maybe one of the best designed dolls in the group, as I was really able to let myself experiment more outside the constraints of making sure she coheres to a group. Overall, all the Misfits stayed pretty close to their designs, whereas if you watch my part 1, a lot of the gem and the holograms drifted a lot through the course of my first design to my final design in some cases, to what actually ended up being put out at the end. And I think a lot of that is accounted for simply the fact that the Misfits are much more in my comfort zone of alternative fashion, especially alt 80s clothes. So with their designs I had a lot more clarity of vision and knowing exactly what I wanted going into it, and it was a lot of fun getting to execute these designs, and all of the Misfits went together a lot faster, I felt like, than most of the gem and the holograms, and I'm not sure if that's just because I had more experience at this point or because of the deadline, but either way they were pretty smooth to put together, and I'm really happy that they turned out. So it is now time to get into what some might call the boring part, but what I might call the fun part: budget. Starting off with Jem, who rated as the priciest doll of the holograms. The majority of this price just goes to the fact that her base doll itself is very expensive, but it was also contributed by that I bought a lot of supplies for her that I then ended up not using because there was a lot of change going on throughout her design process. And her total price was $102.32. Mind you, all of these prices include the base price and shipping, but I didn't include taxes with anything. So add another like 6 to 8% on top of everything. Yikes. Jericho was a lot cheaper than Jem because I was able to get her base doll for less, and her design didn't change as much in the process. It changed in design shapes, but not in the material, so I didn't have to go out and buy anything new for her on the second try. And her total price was $72.81. Next up was Kimber, slightly more expensive. Kimber's doll I got in a lot of 12, so I just split the price of that huge lot up between dolls. However, I only counted the dolls that I used for this project when dividing that price up, so it's not the lot price divided by 12, but divided by the like 6 or so that I used from that lot for this project. So her total price was $80.32. The same base doll situation goes for Oughta, and the second most expensive thing in her budget was just the hair, giving her a total price of $82.31. Then Shayna was more expensive at the third priciest hologram, coming in at $92.20, with a large factor being that her texture is unfortunately priced much more expensively than straight textured hair. Then we have Rhea, who was the second most expensive hologram, at $96.06, because her hair blend had to ship from Australia. It was at least pre-tariff situation, so it could have been worse, and her boots were also pretty pricey secondhand. And she also just had a lot of supplies in general. One thing that I'm glad to not be counting the price of is 3D printing filament or 3D printing machine, because luckily my partner already had one. I did get him a new roll of filament as thanks for helping me out with this project, but I didn't include it in the budget. Now for the Misfits, which overall ranked a lot more expensive than the holograms each. Pizzazz was actually the cheapest Misfit, which is surprising because she feels and looks the most expensive to me. She came in at $86.99. Next up is Roxy, who scored pretty average in terms of all of her supplies, save for the black glitter fur fabric, which had $16 of shipping because the minimum quantity I could buy was several yards. Her total price was $89.84. Then is Stormer, who was also quite expensive, but look at that deal that I got on her base doll. She was very expensive because I had to get a lot of unique accessories that are handmade combined with very expensive materials, and I also got a lot of fabrics for her that I ended up not using, so her total price was $97.15. And then finally is Jetta, who was actually the most expensive doll of the Misfits and of the entire series, coming in at $102.82. A price bolstered by her doll being pretty expensive, her boots being pretty expensive, her hair being really expensive, having 2 different types of pleather in her outfit, and a section of custom printed fabric. And then the most expensive category are all the miscellaneous. So all the rerouting tools and sewing supplies, face-up supplies, and mini painting paints, which luckily I didn't have to buy a full supply of because again, I was able to use it for my partner. Thank you again, because I was going into this with 0 supplies and 0 experience for everything minus the sewing. So it's definitely a project that has a very high cost of entry. I feel like now that I have a lot of supplies in my backlog, it probably wouldn't be as expensive to do this project again, and a lot of the things on this list are otherwise reusable, like the respirator I bought for $25, or the curling iron that I bought for $24, which I've been getting a ton of use out of, both in the mods that I've done here and also just restyling my own collections. But overall, this category came to a grand total of $330.05. And speaking of grand totals, here are the totals of all of the dolls put together in order from least expensive to most expensive. And the overall cost of this project came to a whopping $1,232.87. Ouch. The average cost per doll, when including the miscellaneous items in their cost, came to $123.29. Still cheaper than an Integrity Toys doll. But that also doesn't include all of the labor that went into this project. Like, it has absolutely consumed my life, especially the past half year or so, trying to get everything done in time for the deadline, and I need a serious break from this project because I am so wildly burnt out. That being said, I'm glad I did it. I'm really happy to have gotten the chance to learn all the new skills that I did, and that I was able to even afford to do this project in the first place. But between how expensive it is and how time consumptive it is, I definitely need to put the next round of doll modifications on the back burner and let my creative juices and my bank account recoup. But now that all of these dolls are complete, I think it's time for a little victory lap, especially given that last month's video with the holograms had some major technical difficulties, so I'd love to give them a second chance to shine. So I'll see you for the outro.
And it comes in focus, click, and the world takes notice, click, and in a flash, you're the latest fashion, an overnight smash.
That's what we're gonna do if you don't step aside. Look out, we're coming through. Better run somewhere and hide. You better hide.
And it's all so thrilling.
So that is my series of Jem and the Holograms 40th anniversary dolls fully completed. Please let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below. Please like and share this video. I put literally hundreds and hundreds of hours of work into this. And if you like my art, be sure to like and subscribe. And you can also follow me on Instagram at mercreatureguy549, where I post art at least 3 times a month. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!